almost feel like I have a green screen behind me. This is my favorite color, so why not make it green today? And I actually have my hair up because, you know what? That's how I feel today. Yeah. Anyways, this is Alisha Costanzo, and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. I'm almost to 100 subscribers, which is pretty exciting for me, because I just kind of do this for fun and for me and maybe a little marketing. But anyways, I love books. I renewed my love of books this year, and that is primarily because of these videos. So I am pretty excited about the fact that I get to wrap up December finally and tell you how many books I read and talk about the books. Wow, I'm making a whole lot of sense right now, aren't I? Yeah, I am. I have some kitties with me. Here's a Frodo. Behind me is Araya, or behind you is Araya. Alright, let's get to my writing notes in this little makeshift happy planner that I made because yep. So in December I had 12 books on my TBR. 10 of them were rolls that I did, and then I had an extra 2 to try to finish my 20 before 2020. Well, things certainly didn't go as planned in December. As you may be aware, I got a new job, so my ability to sit and actually read books has been limited to essentially on my drives to work, on my drives home, and on my breaks. So it gives me roughly an hour and a half or so to listen to books a day. An hour and a half listen to books a day. Sometimes I still listen while I am cooking because I get behind because I watch things like Bones or The Rookie or any of the other TV shows that I really enjoy. And yeah. Alright, let's go through the list. I'm gonna try to be quick on this though. You know what? Hold on. Pause. Before I get into the actual books that I read, I would like to give you some stats. Just as a heads up, I only read 5 books. Yeah. With all the books in mind, I read, let's put some numbers up here. I read 1,937 pages. This is quite low compared to previous. Last month I read 4,000 pages, and this month I read less than 2,000. I mean, I did read some things that I haven't counted towards it because I didn't actually finish the books. So, yeah. I listened to, so here's the clincher, 2 days, 3 hours, 24 minutes, and 45 seconds worth of audiobooks. And that's 51 hours in general, but 2 days, 3 hours comes up. And it's pretty close to what I read or listened to last month. So that is still being consistent. I really struggled with some of the books this month, which also, they were long and I struggled. And yeah. Alright. I read 3 adult books and 2 young adult books, and none of them were in the same genre. So I read 1 contemporary, I read 1 romance, I read 1 horror, 1 steampunk or sci-fi, and 1 epic fantasy. Okay, so let's talk about the 5 books that I actually finished. First one was Dirty Love by Bang & March, and my word for this one is kinky. This is probably the kinkiest of her books. It's a bit more dominating sexually than it was in some others where they wanted to control like their whole lives, so different in that regard. This was the sequel in a duet of a larger series, the Dirty series, which had a pumpkin, which featured her brother, and I'm going to read the next one in this mini-series in January, and I'm pretty excited about that. You hear my cat, she's in heat. Don't mind her. She's going to be chirping through this, and Frodo's going to be crying through this because they can't not make noise while I'm in front of the camera. I had a lot of tears and rage at the beginning of the book because obviously they'd been broken up in the last book because that usually happens in a Bang & March book, the cliffhanger endings before we get to the actual happily ever after at the end of the book, and this one felt probably the most real in the happily ever after ending type of scenario. So I was pretty excited about it. We learned some things about the character's past. Cav, I never really thought he was a bad guy, but he's made out to be a bad guy in the first one. And then we actually see their interactions with each other a little bit more in the past, and I really enjoyed that part. So the second book that I read was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This was a pretty long book. It was 15 hours, and I don't mean like, it took me a long time to get through it because half the time I felt really weird listening to it, and that's because my word for this was uncomfortable. The book was amazing, if I can just put that out there. The book was 5 stars. It was amazing. The Megan March book was 5 stars too. So it was really uncomfortable to listen to, especially out loud while I was cooking, so I had a hard time listening to it at home instead of just listening it on drives or putting my headphones in and listening to it, because the young girl is in love with her teacher. There's like a 20-something year age difference. Obviously, there's the teacher-student thing. It is, as much as you hear her saying that she's in love with him and she seeks him out, and a lot of the time, there's very clear gaslighting in it. There's very clear abuse. There's very clear rape at one point, and it's very confusing emotionally to read this book because sometimes it's romantic, and that's ridiculous. Of course it's going to be romantic at parts because he's essentially romancing her at the same time as he's abusing her, and she is reciprocating, and sometimes you're like, yes, get together, because that's what a romance is supposed to do, but this isn't a romance. It is abuse. And then you get those things that creep up on you and you're like, I was just like feeling the moment, and then all of a sudden and blinded, or I don't know how to explain this. Occasionally, the way it's written, you want to root for them to be together, because that's clearly how the character feels sometimes, is she wants to be with him. And other times, you're like hit with this absolutely clear abuse, why do you want him kind of moments. And it made my heart hurt a lot. It made my brain hurt a lot. It was really uncomfortable, but the ending sticks with me. Like, the whole thing, the way it's juxtaposed, I should have used that word, juxtaposition, but the way she juxtaposed the past and the present for this character is perfect. Like, it leads you straight through what she wants you to feel and how confusing this can be, especially for the young. She confuses you on how she wants you to feel in this because of that. So, it's uncomfortable. It's definitely uncomfortable. Yeah, okay. Definitely a 5-star read though. And I'm still thinking about it. So, book number 3 is Gunslinger, or The Dark Tower, as I just refer to it, as the whole series is Dark Tower. The Gunslinger by Stephen King. And as I predicted, I don't really like Stephen King. I don't like his writing style. I love his ideas. His ideas are fantastic. Like, the way this man's mind works, fantastic. I don't like his writing style. I find it rather repetitive and wordy and I actually didn't give this a rating because I don't feel like I could properly rate it. I listened to it. I had a hard time listening to it. My word for this is horrific, because that's the best parts of his story, are these horrific scenes, like putting a gun up to a woman's crotch and threatening her because she's possessed by she has demonic possession, and she's threatening him and all the people, and it ends up in this really big like attack and everybody dies. And I freaking love that kind of shit. I love, again, the way his mind works. I prefer the movie and TV adaptations to his works than I do his actual books. So listening to it, I had a hard time paying attention, which is why, again, I'm not giving it a star rating. I had a hard time paying attention to it. I heard the movie's pretty awful too, so I don't know if I'm gonna watch the movie, but I feel like I'd better understand the story if I did. It was so hard to pay attention to this that I missed when the kid died. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Stephen King. Sorry if you are. I don't like his stuff. Alright, book number 4 is Prudence by Gail Carriger. I've talked about her a lot. I like her writing quite a bit, and I have 2 words for this, and this is wild imagination. The type of shit this woman comes up with, and the names for things, and just the quirkiness of her world is fantastic. It's perfect for steampunk. The Spotted Custard is the name of the ship that she got. I mean, just to put it out there. And I really, really enjoyed some of the fantasy elements in the world building and the connections to the previous characters from the previous series. I feel like I can't continue the series at the moment, though. I need to read the other ones first. I finished one of them. I started the second, and the second is her mother, is Prudence's mother, so I really need to finish her books before I continue with Prudence. I might even re-listen to Prudence after going through the rest of the other books. So I gave this 4.5 stars. I love Gail Carriger. If you haven't read any of her books, you should really pick one of them up. So my last book of December is, oh my god, that cat. Can you hear him? So my last book is, what do I actually have? Aragon by Christopher Paolini, and Christopher Paolini. And this was another one that was a bit difficult to get through. There was sweeping descriptions and development of stuff that I honestly could really care less about. But that's part of epic fantasy. I'm not really an epic fantasy reader in general. I like a lot of action, I like a lot of violence, I like all the time, and this was not that. And that's my word, details. There were a lot of details. Some of those details were really cool, to be fair. Well, some of those details were really cool. The ending details were pretty cool. But the build-up and everything, I was just like, can we get on with it already? And very predictable in where I knew it was going to go. But to be fair, this is like a 20-year-old book. So things that we saw, probably it did originally and others have copied it. I feel like if I had read this as a teen, I would likely have some really nostalgic feelings for this, really strong nostalgic feelings for this. But I just don't. I'm a 36-year-old woman, so this didn't really do it for me. I still gave it 4 stars. I still think it was pretty well written in general, especially for the genre that it's in. But it just wasn't exactly my thing. Yeah, I liked the violent bits though. Those were pretty cool. And just as an update, I did start Half Wild by Sally Green, which was one of my books for my bowls. I'm only like 17% of the way through the book. I'm having a hard time actually like just reading books because when I get home and I get free time, I'm trying to write instead. So work is taking up my reading time. I also did finally start Artemis Fowl, but as you can see, I'm not very far in it. I do like the writing style. Because I started it, I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to make it a goal for 2021 to actually finish reading this book eventually. So there is that. I do want to read Half Wild in 2021 as well. And I did end up checking off one other thing on my list, even though I didn't finish technically anything for it. And that was my startup box set. And I tried to read the Wild Pack box set by Alyssa Woods, and I got through a chapter and then I skimmed the next chapter and I was like, this really isn't doing it for me. The writing style wasn't my thing. They were too fast thrown together without any tension build up, and then the tension's gonna come from them like avoiding the tension that they felt and understanding the way romance structure works. It was way too fast for that to happen. So I just wasn't into it, so I put it down. I DNF'd it. I might give it a second chance. I probably doubt that I'll ever give it a second chance. So with that in mind, that means I did not even touch my dystopia book, which was Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. I did not even touch The Chaos of the Stars by Kirsten White. I didn't touch Truth Witch, and I didn't touch Thirst Volume 2. So those are going to be moved over into 2021. And yeah, guys, that's my December wrap up. It's not as big as I wanted it to be, but again, work. So I'm pretty happy with how much progress I made, given how much I didn't really feel like reading this month. I read my book a whole lot this month, and I don't think that counts, but I read my book a whole lot this month because trying to finish it up and rereading things kind of keeps me in the mode when I can't write. So yeah, that's where my reading efforts went. Okay, well, thank you for watching, guys. I do hope you found a new read. If I could suggest any of them, oh god, which one would I suggest? Probably my Dark Vanessa. It's hard, but it's definitely worth the read. And if you like romance, read Megan March because she's amazing. Alright, let me know what you were reading. What was your favorite book in December? What are you going to be reading in January? What are you most looking forward to being released in 2021? And yeah, let me know those answers in the comments below. I will see you guys next time. Bye.